Jai Hind all. A very good afternoon to all of you. So, good afternoon all, good afternoon, Jai Hind. I hope each one of you are doing great. So, in this session now, we will be starting off with our third unit of class 6th NCERT. So, good afternoon all, good afternoon, Jai Hind. So, I hope all of you would have understood whatever we had studied of in the previous two units. Okay. Our previous units were primarily around the need for government. Okay, what types of government we have in India and what essentially is the requirements of having a government at the various level of for the administration in the country. So previously we had been through the evolution of administrative system in India, the evolution of how an efficient administration can be set up for the citizens in India. Now, in this session, we will be moving on to our third unit. And this third unit is by and large around the local government and the administration at the village level. Clear? So, all of you who have joined me now in this session, I welcome each one of you. Okay. And please do let me know, am I audible loud and clear? Now, today's session is again a very, very important session. Okay. And in today's session, we will be seeing as to how the Panchayati Raj institutions have been established in India. Clear? So before starting off with the session or directly jumping onto the constitutional measures of local government and its administration, today we will take up the fifth chapter, which is the Panchayati Raj. Okay. Now, when we talk about Panchayati Raj, in this topic, we will deal with different levels of Panchayati Raj and why Panchayati Raj institutions are required. But before moving on to these institutions, let me tell you something about the evolution of Panchayati Raj in India. Okay. Now, these Panchayati Raj institutions have existed in India since ancient times. And its evolution over different periods, okay, has been seen. Even during the ancient period, the concept of local self-governance has been in existence in the ancient India. In the local governance, we had seen during the, if all of you would have been through the topics of ancient history, you would have seen that village councils had existed. Okay. And we have got these village councils that we commonly call the panchayats, okay, existing in India for centuries. And these village councils have played a very crucial role in local administration as well as dispute resolution. Clear? In the previous session, we had seen what was an important need for a democratic government is dispute resolution. So the need of establishing the governments at various levels primarily arises from the need for resolution of disputes. These traditional bodies previously had been working as an informal organizations, and they were largely influenced, okay, they were largely influenced by the local customs and the traditional norms that had been in existence during those times. Okay, we have also seen that during the British period also, okay, India has seen a negative impact on how the panchayats had been working. Okay, during the British times, a new system of tax and revenue collection was introduced by the British upon the villagers, which had affected the traditional system, traditional norms. So, overall impact due to the British policies was that panchayats had lost their powers and their authorities to make decisions and also over the implementation. Moreover, we have also seen that in the later British period, okay, the need for local administration was acknowledged by the British. And this was the reason why some reforms had been introduced by the British, and one amongst them was the need for local government. Okay, that is the panchayats. Okay, so some of the prominent steps, if we talk about, taken during that period had strengthened the institutions of Panchayati Raj. Okay, and while we discuss it, we should also recognize that how in 1870 Lord Mayo's resolution was introduced. Okay, it was in 1882 that a resolution was introduced during the times of Lord Ripon also. Then it was in early 20th century, 1907, okay, a royal commission on decentralization of power had also been established in India. Okay. Thereafter, we had seen that whatever decision had been taken was taken post independence. In this post independence era, it marked a renewed focus on decentralization, and hence it finally culminated into the local self government. Okay. By 1950, the Constitution of India that was adopted had emphasized upon the importance of participation of villages and establishment of the village panchayats as unit of self governance in India. Okay, and accordingly, we have seen that post 1950s various committees have been made, various reforms have been introduced. Okay, and we have also seen that substantial efforts were made to revive and institutionalize the Panchayati Raj system in the country. Okay, but whatever steps have been taken post independence, okay, even though the constitution had been adopted in 1950, the Panchayati Raj institutions gave had given up had given the constitutional recognition only by 1992, and it was in 1992 that the 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act was introduced, that had also introduced Schedule 11 that constituted the powers of the Panchayati Raj institution. And it was then that Panchayati Raj institutions were given a final constitutional status. Clear? So, even though the evolution had been from various times, okay, and it is that in India, it is not that Panchayati Raj institutions have been a very new or a surprising element. ठीक? In our country, Panchayati Raj institutions or similar offices of administrations have always existed in our country. Okay, it was only in 1992 that a formal declaration endorsed by our constitution was made. Okay, now since 1950s, major developments have also taken place that have finally led to the evolution of Panchayati Raj institutions in the country. Clear? Now, when we start off with this discussion, okay, so before moving ahead, let me remind you first that from tomorrow we are starting off with our complete English language GS foundation batch, and this GS foundation batch, that is part of our P2I courses, okay, will be based upon the SMART model of preparation. So please, if you want a hassle free preparation, okay, that too in complete English language, please do subscribe to these courses. Okay, you just need to use the code SRM Live to avail maximum discount and also the best prices for your courses. Along with this, you can get all the PDFs of my session. Okay, from my Telegram channel Sharad Mudgal _StudyIQ, you just need to scan this QR code and it will directly get you through my channel. Okay, in this channel I'll share all the PDFs of my Smart NCERT series, along with it all the annotated PDFs of my current affairs videos. Clear? Chali. Now moving ahead, let us talk about the evolution of Panchayati Raj system, Panchayati Raj institutions in India. Okay. Now, before undertaking this entire topic, okay, before taking this topic through the lens of NCERT, let me tell you how these things had evolved in India. Okay. Moreover, this is a very, very important question that has also been asked by UPSC in almost all of its exams. Clear? Now, previously, before the Panchayati Raj institutions had been established in India, the government of India had undertaken various community development programs. Okay. And those community development programs included participation of panchayats. Okay. Acha. Now, one more thing. Why all of these things had evolved? It becomes important to understand because previously, or when our constitution came into existence, okay, at the top level, we had the central government, okay, and at the lower level, we had the state government. Now, a country like India, wherein Gandhiji had envisioned, wherein majority of population had been living in the villages, okay, that region did not have any direct participation or any direct say, okay. And this was the reason that Gandhiji had always thought of including the villagers, okay, into the direct decision making of the country. Clear? And this was the foundational principle that led to the establishment of the governments at the village level. Okay. Now, how did these things involve? Okay. So, first and foremost, you can understand that this evolution had started from 1957 onwards. Okay. And it was since 1957 that finally these efforts culminated into the 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act 1992, which gave a constitutional status to the panchayats. Okay. Now, what had happened in 1957? Okay. It was in 1957, Balwant Rai Mehta Committee was formed. Okay. This Balwant Rai Mehta Committee was formed in 1957, and their responsibility was to primarily evaluate the working of the community development programs that had been going on. Okay. So, the community development program and the national extension service that had been implemented by the government, a committee under Balwant Rai Mehta was set up to suggest measures for improvement, for better working. Okay. Now, these community development program and the national extension services, they were initiated in India in the early 1950s. Okay. Now, the CDP and the National Extension Service, their main responsibility was to ensure better rural development in the country. Okay. And why better rural development was aimed? Because they also aimed to bring out about the socio-economic changes through the community participation and also the extension services. Okay. Now, this committee that was formed, it had brought in its report in 1957, and they were the first ones to have recommended the establishment of a democratic decentralization. Okay. So, this committee, it finally recommended the democratic decentralization, and this democratic decentralization that was recommended, it finally came to be known as the Panchayati Raj system in India. Okay. So, even though various recommendations were given by this Balwant Rai Mehta committee, they had recommended a three-tier Panchayati Raj system. Okay. So, they had recommended that there should be a three-tier Panchayati Raj system. Okay. So, along with these foundational developments, okay, they were the ones who had initially talked about the village panchayat. Okay. Now, this three-tier administration that was given, this three-tier system had to be finally culminated onto the district level. Okay. And district level was basically given the responsibility to supervise things. Clear? So, first it was the village panchayat, popularly called the Gram Panchayat. Okay. Then it was the Panchayat Samiti. Okay. And then with this Panchayat Samiti, there was a Zilla Parishad. Okay. That had to be established. Clear? Now, all of these institutions were organically linked through a concept of indirect elections that were taking place during those times. Okay. Now, this Balwant Rai Mehta committee had finally emphasized upon the village panchayats. And this committee had recommended that village panchayats should be constituted with the directly elected representatives. Okay. So, first level, it has to be a direct representation, and the other levels were recommended to have indirectly elected individuals. Clear? Panchayat Samiti was aimed to be an executive body, while the Zilla Parishad was basically a supervisory, coordinating, and an advisory body. Clear? So this basically was done through this. Okay. Now, after uh, the recommendations that were advised by the Balwant Rai Mehta committee, these recommendations were accepted by the National Development Council. Okay. National Development Council had accepted the recommendations by 1958, but the National Development Council did not insist on a rigid pattern. Okay, so it was aimed that it should be left to the states. Okay, now when it was to be left to the states, okay, then states had to organize themselves in whatever manner suits them. Okay, and it was by this time that in 1959 Rajasthan became the first state in India to have established panchayat. Okay, and it was in Nagaur district of Rajasthan that in 1959 the first panchayat was established. Okay, after Nagaur in Rajasthan, okay, in the same year Andhra Pradesh had also adopted this system. Clear? So it was by mid 1960s that many states had adopted the system of Panchayati Raj institutions, but uh, the other side was that the structure was not uniform across the states. Okay, and since the structure was not uniform across the state, this led to the establishment of another committee. Okay, and it was in 1977 that a Ashok Mehta committee was established. Okay, this Ashok Mehta committee was established. And what was the responsibility? This Ashok Mehta committee had to revive, okay, they had to review the working of the unstructured Panchayati Raj institutions in the country. Clear? Now, this Ashok Mehta committee, they were not in favor of having a three-tier system. Clear? And this Ashok Mehta committee, it had recommended that instead of a three-tier system, there must be only a two-tier system. Okay, so herein they declared that the panchayats, okay, instead of having a separate panchayat of every state, there should be a mandal panchayat. Okay, mandal panchayat means that it is consisting of group of villages, okay, with a total population from around 15,000 to 20,000. Clear? And then they recommended that after mandal panchayat, it has to be a zilla parishad. Okay. So instead of having panchayats for every village, the panchayat should be established for a collection of village. Clear? They recommended that the Zilla Parishad should be the executive body. Okay. And they made responsible for planning at the district level. Clear? Now, this Ashok Mehta committee had also recommended that there should be official participation of all the political parties in the panchayat election. Then only the panchayat will be able to have an inclusive participation, inclusive uh, adoption in the system. Clear? So they wanted that whatever the Panchayati Raj institution is being established, it should have participation from all, And the most important part is that their aim was to ensure proper implementation of all these community development programs. Clear? They also wanted that all of these structures must be built only after a social audit, okay, by the district level authority. Clear? Now they also recommended that along with these panchayats, Nyaya panchayats must also be established. Okay, and Nyaya panchayats were to be legal bodies established for the villages. Clear? Now, the recommendations that were given by the Ashok Mehta committee, okay, they were able to get uh, similar acknowledgement in the final draft also. Okay, but essentially what had happened that when these recommendations were given, no action were taken upon the recommendations of the Ashok Mehta committee. Clear? But there were a few states that had recognized what Ashok Mehta committee had recommended. Okay, then it was in 1985 GVK Rao committee. GVK Rao committee was set up in 1985. Okay, and GVK Rao committee had the responsibility to review all the rural development programs along with the poverty alleviation programs. Clear? Now, this committee made a very striking observation. Okay, they had observed that the development process was gradually bureaucratized. Okay, bureaucratized, and they wanted that it is divulging itself from the Panchayati Raj institutions, and thus the Panchayati Raj institutions are getting weakened up. Clear? Thus, they recommended that the Zilla Parishad should be the main body, okay, and it must have the responsibility of democratic decentralization. Clear? And they also argued that these Panchayati Raj institutions, okay, should be given important role in planning, implementation, and monitoring of the rural development programs in and around the entire area of jurisdiction. Clear? So GVK Rao committee, the recommendations were also given. Okay, but finally, a committee under LM Singhvi was made in 1986. Okay, so it was in 1986 LM Singhvi committee was made. Clear? Now, this LM Singhvi committee was having the responsibility to prepare the draft document for the revitalization of Panchayati Raj institutions. Okay. Now, in order to revitalize the Panchayati Raj institutions, they also had this responsibility to ensure that a proper democratic and a developmental structure has been established. Clear? Now, this LM Singhvi committee, they had aimed at constitutional recognition of the panchayats. Okay, and a prominent advice was to ensure regular, free, and fair elections at the Panchayati Raj system. Okay, now this committee had finally talked about establishing a very important body called the Gram Sabha. Okay, they had talked about the establishment and importance of Gram Sabha. ठीक? And according to them, this Gram Sabha was called to be the reflection of direct democracy in the country. The reflection of direct democracy in the country. Clear? Chali. So, I hope all of you would have understood that what all were the various steps that were taken. Clear? And how Gram Sabha was empowered with certain level of responsibilities. Clear? So in today's session, we would start off with the concept of Gram Sabha itself. Okay. Now, even though after the LM Singhvi committee, various other committees were made. Okay. It was followed by a subcommittee. Okay. Also called the Thungan committee that was made. Then we had the Gadgil committee that came in 1988. Okay, it was basically a committee on policy and reforms. Okay, after the Gadgil committee, we finally saw the constitutionalization of the Panchayati Raj institutions. Clear? But before moving ahead, let me tell you that these are the four pillars. Okay, these are essentially the four pillars that had led to the constitutionalization of Panchayati Raj institutions in the country. Clear? Chaliye. So when we start off with this session, okay, the local government and administration, okay. Now, in this session, we would study that what happens after people elect their representatives, how decisions are made, what are the different bodies that are created, okay, and keeping everything in mind for the rural areas, we will understand that how people participate directly in a democratic setup and they set the accountability of the elected representatives. Clear? Chaliye. So when we start off with this, okay, this topic, okay, it starts off with a very prominent concept. Okay, now this entire topic has been framed around the working of a village. Okay, and herein an example of the Hardas village has been taken. Clear? So it is basically, they talk about that a village panchayat has to happen. Okay, and it is in this that Gram Sabha is playing an important role. Clear? So first and foremost, here comes the concept of Gram Sabha. Okay. Now, first is what is Gram Sabha? Okay. Now, when we talk about Panchayat, Gram Sabha is the unit structure of the Panchayats. Okay. In Gram Sabha, no representative is elected. Clear? No representative is elected. Clear? So every elector of the village, every elector of the village, every voter of the village is a member of Gram Sabha. Clear? So Gram Sabha, every voter, it means that everyone who is over and above the age of 18 years is part of Gram Sabha. Clear? So in this chapter, the topic starts that every person, every individual has been rushing towards the panchayat meeting. Okay, because the Gram Sabha meeting is about to begin. Clear? This Gram Sabha meeting, it will begin with the panchayat president. Okay, also called the sarpanch. Clear? And the members of this panchayat. Okay, which whom we can call the panch. Now, the panchayat has the responsibility to undertake the problems or dispute resolution of the people at the rural level. Here in this Hardas village, the panchayat has been organized to discuss upon the plan for repairing the road that connects the village to the main highway. Clear? Now, this panchayat system, okay, as if we go around with the example of the Hardas village, the village panchayat has been organized to undertake the issue of construction of a road, okay, repair of a road that is connecting the village with the national highway. Now, along with this repair of the road, various other things have to be undertaken. Okay, like essentially the subject of water shortage in the village. Okay, but firstly, we must understand that what does this Gram Panchayat means. Okay, what does this Gram Panchayat mean? Now, in this Gram Panchayat, it mentions that the entire village, okay, gram means a village, the entire village is further subdivided into various wards. Okay, as in the case of elections, we have seen that there is some sort of territorial delimitation. Clear? And this is how the entire village is divided into ward. Now, every ward has got a representative to elect. Clear? So the entire area, instead of one person representing the entire village, okay, the areas of the village have been further subdivided into wards. And when it has been subdivided into wards, it means basically a smaller areas. Now every ward is elected through a ward member, and these ward members are called the panch. Okay, then who elects these punches? Okay, these punch are elected by the members of Gram Sabha that has got all members above 18 years of age. Okay, now the ward punch and the sarpanch, they finally form the Gram Panchayat. ठीक? In India, as we have seen in the previous topic, as the government at the central and the state level were being elected for a duration of 5 years, similarly, the government or the panchayat at the village level is established for a duration of 5 years. Okay, Gram Panchayat also has got a secretary. Clear? Now, secretary who is also the secretary of Gram Sabha. Again, this individual is not an elected person but appointed by the government itself, the establishment itself. Okay, and secretary has the responsibility to ensure that regular meetings of the Gram Sabha and Gram Panchayat, they are conducted and they are better documented. Okay, now it is in this situation that villagers have been discussing about various important issues. Okay, up now herein what happens is that a villager called Tijia. Okay, a villager called Tijia, they start the meeting by saying that there has been an acute water problem in the Hardas village. Okay, now there has been an acute water problem in the Hardas village due to which because the water level in the pumps has gone down. Okay, now people are not able to get water and they have to travel on foot to around 3 kilometers to get the water. Now people had various suggestions. Okay, few people recommended that there is a rear river nearby. Okay, so the Suru river, which is approximately 3 kilometer away, okay, from where women and other people have been fetching water, why don't we directly establish a pipeline connection and directly the water is uh, distributed through Suru river from the okay, from the water of the Suru river. Clear? But this sounds to be a very expensive idea. Clear? So instead, the other feels that there we must deepen, we must undertake the bore wells. Okay, we must clean the bore wells, we must clean the wells, we must clean the areas. Okay, so that the water is available in nearby. Instead of pumping too much of money in creating a water system, water ecosystem from a river of 3 kilometers away, why don't we further dug up the bore wells which are available near us, the pumps which are near available near us. Okay, but along with this, another women, okay, this woman Tijia, she says that this would not be enough. Okay, why this would not be enough? Because the groundwater level has been gradually going down. Okay, why it has been gradually going down? Because people have been using excessive water. Okay, and less water is further seeping into the earth itself. Okay, there was another member by the name Anwar. Okay, he says that the people of the village must undertake water harvesting methods. Okay, that they must work for conserving the water and they must recharge the underground level of the water. Okay. Now, in order to make people understand, he also told them about an example of Maharashtra. Okay. He said that he had been to a village, okay, and therein watershed development projects were being conducted, and the government was also helping the people to undertake watershed management. So basically, it is a method from which water conservation can be undertaken. Okay. He further declared that when he had gone there, okay, people had also planted trees. Okay, people had constructed the dams and the tanks. So everything that he was conveyed to the Gram Sabha. Okay, now he was basically offering different forms of solutions that can be given to the problem. Okay, so firstly, we had seen that people of the Vardas village had talked about the road repair. Okay, then they had talked about the water supply. Okay, water supply has to be undertaken. Now, since the entire responsibility of the rural area lies upon them, okay, the next issue that came before them was the finalization of BPL category people, okay, below poverty line. Okay, now they declared, okay, that a final list has to be prepared. While the panchayat was discussing about the preparation of final rolls, okay, the people were discussing a few things amongst themselves. Okay, now they were discussing a few things amongst themselves, and it was in this concept. Okay, it was in this situation. Okay, they gave an example of a person Natwar. Okay, they said that since Natwar, okay, has bought a color TV recently. Okay, his son, who has been working in the city, has sent him a new motorcycle. So the question was that what all are the parameters to include that somebody will be in a BPL list or not. Okay, so uh, it was an individual who raised this issue. Okay, then another people, they started discussing, okay, that how effectively the name of Birju came into this list. Okay, another individual who has got so much of land, and this list should have names of only poor. Okay, so herein there was example of two people, okay, who even though had resources, okay, who had access to resources, but still were being made part of the below poverty line category. Clear? Now, the other members of the panchayat, they raise up an issue of a daily wage laborer Om Prakash. Okay, people were arguing that Om Prakash has been a landless labor. Okay, and it is becoming very difficult for Om Prakash to make his family eat three times of meals. Okay, so it was in this situation, they said that there are people who have had resources, their name are still in the BPL category list, and an individual who deserves to be in the BPL list, his or her name is not there. Clear? Okay. So again, a lady, he declared that there have been some affiliations, and thus people's name have been made part of it. Okay. Now the village sarpanch was very minutely listening to this entire conversation. Okay. Now the sarpanch had noticed that people had been whispering, and he then asks them, okay, that if anyone has got anything to say. Clear? Now it is in this situation an individual Suraj now urges one of his friend Suraj Mal, okay, to ask about Natwar and Birju. Okay, so to ask about them. Now it was said that the individual who is closer to Natwar and Birju, who has got them into this list, because they will get benefits of this. Okay, so they essentially talked that that man is also amongst us, so we must not talk about him, as he has been a zamindar in our village. Clear? So it is in this situation, the sarpanch, he is now curious to know that how this mistake has been carried out. Okay, person who are supposed to be in the list are missing from the list. Okay, so when he asked the individual that who had gone to undertake the survey, the official told him that sir, we have been to conducting the survey of Om Prakash place, but at that moment of time he was not there. Okay, he might have been somewhere for looking for the work, and thus he was not at home, and thus we was not able to include him or collate data around him. Clear? So this is how this topic, it talks about how the evolution of the panchayats, and along with it this topic now talks about that what all are the parameters over which the village panchayat must take stand of its own people, and what all are the malpractices that are also taking place. Okay, now next comes the gram panchayat. Okay, now gram sabha does not have elections. Okay, it is just the voters of the village participating together, okay, and undertaking various discussions. Clear? The first formal organization that comes up here is the gram panchayat. Okay, now this gram panchayat is an organization that meets regularly. Okay, now the aim of the gram panchayat was to implement the development programs. Okay, and to ensure that the benefits of this development program, it reaches to all citizens of the village. Okay, now gram panchayat can work only when its functions are approved by the gram sabha. Okay, so they have talked about that how these important offices have been created in the panchayati raj system. Moreover, by these, the author in this topic tries to convey that it becomes the responsibility of the people to ensure accountability of the representatives that have been chosen. Clear? Now, in some states, gram sabhas also form the committees of the people. Okay, like construction and development committees, and these committees, they include members from the gram sabha and also from the gram panchayat who works together to resolve the issues. Okay, moreover, if any gram panchayat works well in India, okay, if a gram panchayat does well, okay, then the government of India also grants the Nirmal Gram Puraskar. Okay, Nirmal Gram Puraskars are also given by the government for excellent work done by the panchayat in a village. Clear? So Gram Sabha has got various responsibility, as we have seen from this office, from this topic itself. Gram Sabha has the responsibility for the construction and maintenance of water sources, okay, of the roads, okay, the drainage system, okay, provision to provide the school buildings, repair of the school buildings, and anything that corresponds to the resource of a common man. Okay, now it also has the responsibility of collecting the taxes upon the individuals, and finally we see that they have the responsibility to ensure that government schemes are well executed. Okay, and it has contributed towards generating employment amongst the people. Clear? So we can see that even though the panchayats are a prerogative of the state government, okay, but they have been given fair level of autonomy through this 73rd Amendment Act. Clear? Chaliye. Moving ahead, let us again come back to what the Hardas Gram Sabha Gram Panchayat was able to do. Okay, so there have been various responsibilities. They wanted them to build the roads, they wanted them to ensure that water is pure. Okay, so and along with the names of people in the below poverty line category. Clear? So it was during this situation that this Hardas village Gram Panchayat, okay, again held a meeting. Okay, and various points were put up. Okay, and then this meeting was conducted by all the officials. Okay, now the Gram Panchayat members, they first discuss the suggestion, okay, to resolve water problem. Okay, so how water problem has to be resolved? In order to resolve the water problem, they decided that we would dug deep. Okay, the borewells that have been created, okay, they would be dug deep now. Clear? So this is one task that was decided by them. Clear? So deepen the hand pumps, also cleaning of the wells so that village does not go without water. Okay, the sarpanch, that is regarded as the president of the panchayat, suggested that the panchayat has also received some money from the state governments for the repair of hand pumps, and this could be used for completing this entire responsibility. Clear? Now the members of the Hardas village Gram Panchayat, they were quite happy with this. Okay, and they also agreed to what the Sarpanch has been conveying. Clear? Now these members, okay, they wanted to discuss the options for the long term solutions. Clear? So even though these people, they were acknowledging the problem of water shortage in the villages, they wanted to have a solution which was once and for all. Clear? So these members, they were sure that the Gram Sabha members would ask questions at the next meeting. Okay, and some officials of the panchayat, the punch, okay, they asked whether the watershed development program, okay, should make a substantial development to water level or not. Okay, so a lot of discussions had been followed in that meeting. Okay, and then they decided that for further execution of our ideas, we must have to develop to we must have to travel to a higher official. Okay, and it was in this official, okay, that it was decided, okay, it was decided that they would now approach the block development officer for getting informations around the scheme and also to resolve further issues. Okay, कृतीश जी से सर अक्टूबर में पीएससी का एग्जाम पॉलिटिकल कैसे एक बार पढ़ा हुआ है आपसे बट रिवाइज नहीं किया है कृतिश व्हाट यू कैन डू इज ओके you can revise through questions. Okay, okay, you can revise through questions. Moreover, just give me 5 minutes more, I'll cover up this entire topic and I'll resolve your doubt in detail then. Okay, Kritish, so just wait for five more minutes. Okay, so in case any one of you has got any doubt around preparation, wait for around 5-7 minutes more. Okay, the topics will be finished up and then I'll take up all your doubts. Clear? Chale. Now herein, when we move further, this topic also details upon the levels of panchayat. Okay, so we have read in this topic that what has been happening with the gram sabha. When members of the gram sabha, they meet, what do they decide? Okay, what gram panchayat does. Okay, so we can understand that gram sabha is essentially the most basic unit, okay, wherein all representatives, all members of the village, they come up together to discuss what all are the issues and how they have to be resolved. Okay, after them it is the gram panchayat, okay, that undertakes the responsibility, and it is the members who have been elected by these members of gram sabha. Clear? Okay, so for election of the gram panchayat, okay, the people participate, the gram sabha members vote, and then the panch are elected. Clear? So panchayati raj system, in the panchayati raj system, we can see this system as the first level of democratic government in India. Okay, the panch, the members in the panchayat, and the gram panchayat, okay, they are all accountable to the gram sabha. Why? Because gram sabha has got all the people who have highlighted the issues that the entire village has been facing. Clear? And it is the gram sabha that has elected these members. Clear? So the underlying concept of the people's participation in the panchayati raj system, it extends to two other levels. Okay, now this other level that comes up is the block level. Okay, so various terms have been used for this. Okay, so this level, okay, is called by various names. The most popular name, these most popular term these days is the Panchayat Samiti. the Panchayat Samiti. Okay, and this Panchayat Samiti is also called the Janpad Panchayat. Okay, now Panchayat Samiti has many Gram Panchayats under it. Clear? Moreover, above the Panchayat Samiti, it is the district level. Okay, district Panchayat that we call the Jila Parishad. Clear? So these are the three levels, okay, of representatives, and Gram Sabha is the level that is setting the accountability of the people. Clear? So this Zilla Parishad, it is basically making all the development plans. Okay, so at the district level, they are making development plans for all the panchayats that are included under them. Okay, and with the help of these panchayat samiti, it also regulates how the money is distributed to the panchayats. Clear? Moreover, they also set the guidelines as per the Constitution of India. Okay, that essentially how these guidelines are set up, it ensures how they'll be working. Clear? So the Constitution essentially provides that each state in the country has got their own laws with respect to the panchayat. Okay, but no matter what law a state has, okay, the main idea of establishing the panchayats is to provide more and more space for people to participate and raise their voices and raise their issues amongst them. Clear? Okay, so this is ultimately the idea for panchayati raj system that has been established in the country. Okay, now an additional information I am giving you beyond this topic. Okay, now the 73rd Amendment Act says that this block level, okay, or what we can call the intermediary level, okay, this intermediary level is an optional level. Okay, any state that has got got the population less than 20 lakhs, okay, they are exempted from establishing this intermediary level. Okay, so states wherein the population is above 20 lakhs, they will have to establish a three-tier system. Okay, so as per the Indian Constitution, the three-tier system is the norm. Okay, but any state that has got population less than 20 lakhs, they have this option to to either establish or not to establish the panchayat at the intermediary level. Clear? Okay, so this is again one thing, this is an exception that all of you must remember. Clear? Chali. So this is all from my side today, and this is all from this topic. Okay. So today we had done the 5th chapter of our class 6th NCERT. Okay. Anyone who has got any doubt in anything, please do let me know. Okay. Now, Kritish ji, as you had this asked that October you have your PSC examination. So since it is July going on, okay, essentially you have got uh, 2 months more. Okay, practically 2 months more to prepare. Okay, so best way to prepare right now is through questions. Do not chase a book. Instead, practice questions. Give mock tests. Okay, and revise those topics wherein you are making mistakes. Clear? So there is no point in going through or reading a book end to end if you have already done so. Just practice questions and find out your weaker areas and revise those selected topics. Clear? This is how you can make up, you can complete your preparation for your upcoming state PCS exams as well. Clear? Chaliye. So this is all from my side today. I hope all of you would have understood. I have taken this topic in very detail. Okay. So even though the content of this topic that has been taken, okay, I have also taken some extra information so that you understand that why in this topic, when we are talking about the Hardas village, why the villagers are talking about the construction of roads, why are they talking about water shortage issue, why are they talking about the summation of list of the members of the below poverty line category. So whatever issue they have been taking, why they have been taking, because the ultimate aim is community development, the ultimate aim is rural development. Clear? And thus the Panchayati Raj institutions have the say to decide things for them. Clear? Chaliye. So this is essentially all from my side today. And again reminding you, tomorrow is the last day. Okay. From tomorrow, we are starting off with our new batch. Okay. The complete English GS Foundation batch based upon our smart model of preparation. Clear? Along with it, you can get all the PDFs directly from my Telegram channel, Sharadmudgal_StudyIQ. You just need to uh, scan this QR code and it will get you to my Telegram channel. Clear? So this was all from my side.